It started out like any other Saturday afternoon on Highway 19, the sun resting high above the pine trees and the deep rumble of motorcycle engines echoing through the valley. A group of 12 bikers from the Iron Vipers Motorcycle Club were cruising back from a charity ride, leather vests flapping in the wind and chrome glinting in the light. Among them was Ryder Maddox, their president, a man with a rough beard, a scar over his eyebrow, and a reputation for being dangerous when crossed. But anyone who actually knew him knew the truth. This was a man who'd once raised money to rebuild a burnt-down orphanage, tough on the outside, heart of gold on the inside. They were just 5 minutes from the diner where they planned to stop when Ryder suddenly lifted his hand, signaling the group to slow down. At first, the others thought he heard a mechanical issue or maybe saw a deer cross the road. But then they heard it, a scream, faint, panicked, desperate, carried by the wind. Ryder's head snapped left. A small dirt road cut between the trees, nearly hidden. And from somewhere up that road came another cry, this time louder, a child's voice. "Help, somebody please." Before anyone could process it, a blur of motion burst from the tree line. A little girl no older than 7 sprinted toward the road, tears streaking her dirt-covered face, hair tangled and shoes missing. She stumbled into the open, arms flailing, waving frantically at the approaching motorcycles. The bikers rolled to a stop in a cloud of dust and gravel. Ryder was off his bike before the kickstand even hit the ground. The girl dropped to her knees, sobbing so hard she could barely speak. "Please, they're hurting my mom. Please help her." Ryder knelt down, his voice low and steady. "Who's hurting her?" The girl pointed back into the trees, gasping through tears. "2 men, they're beating her right now." There was no hesitation. Ryder turned to his crew, eyes burning with purpose. "All right, Vipers, we roll." The men sprint out without another word. I've stayed with the girl to calm her. The rest followed Ryder at the dirt path, boots smashing through the brush. As they reached a clearing, voices rang through the trees, angry, aggressive, and unmistakably violent. "Get back down. I told you to shut up." A woman screamed. Ryder didn't bother to wait. He charged. What they found made every muscle in his body tense with fury. A pickup truck sat parked in the clearing, its doors flung open. Behind it, 2 men towered over a woman in her mid-30s, her arms raised in defense, a bruise swelling on her cheek. One man yanked her by the hair. The other held a broken beer bottle like a weapon. Ryder didn't announce himself. He grabbed the bottle-wielding man by the wrist and wrenched her backward with a snap. The man screamed, his bone cracked. Before he could react, Ryder shoved him to the ground and planted a boot on his chest. 3 other bikers swarmed the second attacker. He tried to run but was tackled into the dirt before he got 2 steps. The clearing fell silent. The woman collapsed to her knees, trembling. Ryder knelt beside her. "Mom, your daughter's safe. She's down the road. Can you walk?" She nodded weakly, tears running down her face. "I didn't think anyone would hear her. I told her to run. I just needed someone to." "You did right," Ryder said. One of the Vipers pulled out his phone and called 911, while another used zipties from his saddlebag to restrain the attackers. The rest formed a perimeter until the cops arrived. Minutes later, the little girl was reunited with her mother. Their embrace was so powerful and emotional that even the toughest men in leather looked away to keep from tearing up. By the time police arrived, both suspects were tied, bruised, and begging for mercy. The sheriff, recognizing Ryder, just raised an eyebrow. "Self-defense?" he asked. Ryder shrugged. "She was outnumbered." The sheriff chuckled. "Good thing you boys were in the neighborhood." As officers took the suspects into custody, paramedics checked on the mother and child. The little girl kept looking at Ryder as if he were some kind of superhero. The viral moment came later. One of the paramedics, without telling anyone, had recorded part of the reunion between mother and daughter, and the moment the girl turned and hugged Ryder round the waist. That 15-second clip hit the internet within hours. It spread like wildfire. People shared it with captions like, "Never judge a book by its leather cover." "These bikers just restored my faith in humanity." "Heroes wear patches, not capes." News outlets picked it up. Comment sections exploded with admiration. Hundreds asked how they could donate to the Iron Vipers Charity Fund, but none of that mattered to Ryder. What stayed in his mind was the moment the girl, still shaking, had whispered, "I thought no one would come," and Ryder looking her in the eyes and replying, "You screamed loud enough. We heard you." By the end of the week, the 2 attackers were charged with assault and attempted kidnapping. The mother and daughter were placed in protective housing. Local businesses offered to help them relocate and start fresh. And the Iron Vipers got a new nickname in town, the Guardian Riders. In the months that followed, Ryder and his crew checked in on the family more than once. They never bragged about what they'd done. They never acted like heroes, but the little girl would never forget, because on the day she ran barefoot and hopeless into the road, crying for help, the world could have ignored her. But instead, a wall of roaring engines answered the call, and that moment went down in history.